Very good morning, dear students. We started chapter number 3 of history and we just had an introduction of this chapter. Fine, children. So now we are going to start the next topic, that is the birth of Weimar Republic. So, children, Germany was a very powerful empire in the early years of the 20th century. Fine. So, during the First World War, which was from 1914 to 1918, Germany was very much powerful. Even children, it occupied France and Belgium. But the turnover was when USA joined the Allies. So with the entry of US in 1917, Allies won and Germany and the other powers were defeated in November 1918. Now after the defeat of Germany, in the imperial Germany, the abdiction of emperor was done. Means the emperor was throne was removed from the throne, and government parliamentary parties they came up. Fine. And now a national assembly met at Weimar and they established a democratic constitution which has the federal structure. Now the deputies they were going to be elected in the German parliament, and the name of the German parliament is Reichstag. And everybody was allowed to vote, even the women were allowed to vote universally. Fine. Now the party which came up, means the government was made by Weimar Republic. Now this Weimar Republic was not welcomed by the people, because the people were not happy with Weimar Republic. Fine. Now, what was the reason why they were not happy with the Weimar Republic? Was the first reason was that Weimar Republic signed a peace treaty at Versailles with the Allies, and that treaty was known as a harsh and a humiliating peace treaty. In the name of peace treaty, it was really harsh, and people of Germany they held Weimar Republic responsible for signing the treaty. As you all know that whenever something wrong happens in our country, we always make the government responsible for that. The same thing was happening here. But even the Weimar Republic were forced to sign the treaty by the Allies. Fine. Now, what happened with the signing this treaties, children? Germany lost its overseas colonies, and because of the overseas colonies, 1/10 of population was also lost. Fine. So they had a great loss here. It also lost 13% of its territories. It also lost 75% of its iron deposits, 26% of its coal deposits. Fine. Then, children, the Allied powers they demilitarized Germany because they just want to weaken the power of Germany. They do not want that Germany should again stood up, so they demilitarized it. One more thing was happened. What was it? This was the war guilt clause. Now, what was it? According to this clause, Germany was held responsible for all the damage done to the allied countries during the war. So they said that Germany is going to compensate all the damage done by the war, amounting to 6 billion pounds, which was a very big amount. And even, children, the allied armies they occupied the area of Rhineland. Here you can see the Rhineland area they occupied, and this area was resource rich, lots of resources. Any country can develop with the help of its resources, but they have also taken the resource rich areas also. So many of the people they were making Weimar Republic responsible for all that is happening with the Germany. They said that they have brought disgrace to Germany at Versailles. Fine. Now, children, the next thing is what affects it had on Germany. Now, see, after the war, obviously, children, it had a very devastating impact on the entire continent of Europe, both psychologically and financially, in both terms. Now, Germany previously was called the continent of creditors, meaning they were giving credit to other countries, but now it turned into a continent of, Europe was called a continent of creditor, but now it was a continent of debtor, means they had to borrow money from other countries. And the Weimar Republic was, was held responsible for all this happening to Germany. Now, the Republic carried the, they were paid for all this guilt was that they had a guilt that they had done this all, the humiliation, fine, the compensation they had to pay, all this was made responsible to the Weimar Republic. Fine, in the supporters of Weimar Republic, which were some socialist people, some Catholics, some Democrats, they were targeted by the people now. Fine, they were mockingly called November criminals because they signed the Treaty of Versailles in November. So people used to think that at that time only they killed Germany. So they are criminals, November criminals. Fine. So this mindset is going to um, mindset is going to have a big impact in the political development in the 1930s, which we are going to discuss afterwards. Now, the First World War, it has a very deep impact on the European society. Now, the soldiers, they were placed above all the civilians. They were giving, respect. The politicians, the publicists, they used to, stress on the idea that people have to become aggressive, strong, and masculine type, and they were glorifying the trench life, means the trench life of the soldiers, how the soldiers they made trenches in the surface of the earth, and how they used to fight in those trenches. Fine. So they used to glorify that trench life. They were giving very much respect to the soldiers, and whereas the truth of trench life was only known by the soldiers, because that trench life was really miserable. It was not easy to live in those trenches, trapped. Fine, even sometimes they were not having food to eat, they had to face poisonous gases, animal shelling, and all that. But the things were glorified just to attract people towards the army life. Fine, so that more and more people should join the army. Now, the aggressive war propaganda was staged everywhere. They just asked for aggressive, we want aggressive war, we want to occupy our national honor again, and all those, the people now they started supporting the conservative dictatorship, and the democracy idea was very fragile now, means very weak, it became very weak. And people they started uh, paying interest to the dictatorship. Fine. So this was all which was happening in Europe this time. Sorry, in Germany this time. So we will continue with the chapter in the next module. Thank you and have a nice day.